I want to actually welcome to the show Jim Jordan, chair of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, it's an honor to have you, and it's the first time we've had you back since everything happened. So, please, the floor is yours to remember Charlie as however you want.
Well, happy warrior, fighting for the truth. I don't know, I was doing an interview shortly after the tragic taking of his life, and I said in that interview, Charlie lived that verse, 2 Timothy 4:7, fight the good fight, finish the course, keep the faith. Paul tells that to the young guy Timothy, and Charlie was the young guy Timothy who lived that verse, and he did it with a smile on his face. He did it in a way where he conveyed the truth, and set the example that I think we conservatives, Republicans, just Americans, everybody should follow. So that's what. Our daughter, I think I don't know where I shared this. I may have was on doing a Fox interview, but our youngest daughter, who's the same age as Charlie, maybe a year older, she sent me a text the day that it happened, and she said, "This is tragic, certainly for Charlie's family, but also for our generation. He was our Limbaugh." And I thought that's a good way to say it. That's maybe other people said the same thing, but I know that day when I got that text from Jessie, she actually lives overseas. I thought that was a good way to put it. So he was a good man.
Well, I mean, that's a great honor. I remember, people asked what Charlie wanted to do with his future, if he's going to run for president I had those conversations over the years with Charlie as well. And one time I asked him, I said, you want to be this? You want to be Rush Limbaugh? I forget the alternative. I think it was some sort of political leader.
Yeah.
And he said, I want to be more like Rush Limbaugh. And Rush and Charlie were great friends. Rush was actually a 7-figure donor to Turning Point USA, if you believe it.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
And,
I didn't know that.
His wife Catherine gave us permission to disclose that after Rush's passing.
Wow.
And anyways, you and Charlie were great friends, and you were close allies, and it's an honor to have you back on the show. And today is election day. So today is election day, Congressman, and all across the country, especially on the East Coast. But we have a race here in Mesa. We've got Prop 50 in California. Everybody get out to the polls. What are you watching? What are you looking for? And what's your message to Republican conservatives, independent, leaning right kind of voters? What's your message?
Well, I guess what I'm really watching is probably the New York, New Jersey area, because this Mamdani guy is. He's a socialist. So I want to see what happens there. It looks like he's going to prevail. I hope not, but it looks like he's going to. I kind of want to see what those margins are. But I think as many people have said, that sort of tells you where the Democrat Party is today, if in fact he does go ahead and win this mayor's race in our great city, New York City. And then right next door, to see if Chitterelli can pull this off. And people are saying it's close. I hope Mr. Chitterelli wins. I think it's interesting. By the way, Jack Chitterelli, if that isn't like when you see him, hear him talk, look at him, hear his name, if that isn't New Jersey just personified, I don't know what it is. He just fits. He totally, that's the right word. Totally New Jersey. So I hope he pulls it off. He's seems to me like, I've never met him personally, but seems to me like a total common sense kind of guy that you kind of want running your state. So I'm kind of watching those two. I think it looks tough in California for us, unfortunately. I hope not. I hope we defeat Prop 50, because if we lose that one, we're going to lose probably some good members of Congress, some really good members like Mr. Kiley, good member Darrell Issa. They're all going to have tougher races, and they're friends of mine. So I hope we prevail, but it doesn't look great.
Well, it's going to put a lot of pressure on states like Indiana to get their act together. Ohio, obviously. The redistricting fights will continue on. You mentioned New York and the emergence of Mamdani. And it's interesting. I want to play this clip. It's 175. Get it ready. He's asked to explain the difference between Democrat and Democrat socialist and a communist. So let's hear his answer. I'll have you respond on the other side. 175.
How do you respond to that when somebody comes up to you and says, I can't vote for you because you're a communist?
I say there are reasons you might not want to vote for me, but let's be honest about my politics. I'm a democratic socialist no matter how many times President Trump calls me otherwise.
Yeah, explain the difference. What is the difference between a Democrat, a democratic socialist, and a communist?
Well, I'm a democratic socialist who's also a Democrat.
Right.
And when I say I'm a democratic socialist, I explain it in the words of Dr. King from decades ago, who said that call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country.
Congressman, your reaction?
Well, it sounds like socialism. You can put the word Democrat in front of it, but it sounds like socialism to me. If you're going to a distribution of wealth taken from one, given to another. I always tell people, almost 40 years ago, I had the opportunity to compete in the Soviet Union, and when you go to places like that, you thank the good Lord you live here. And I remember walking into stores in socialist Russia. The Socialist Republic of Russia, whatever, the USSR, and there was nothing on the shelves. Like, that's what happens when you go down that road. And the things he's promising, I think he's even talked about government-run stores. So, like, I saw government-run stores in Russia, and there was nothing to purchase. So, yeah, we don't want that. Sounds great. There was a great piece in the Journal today where it talked about, socialism and capitalism. Socialism sounds great, never works. Capitalism may not sound the best right when you first hear it, but it works out. And it's a much, much better system where you actually embrace freedom and property and everything else. So, yeah, he can put the word Democrat in front of it, but it sounds to me like he's just a socialist.
Well, I agree. I will give him credit where it's due, that he has been focusing on domestic issues, right? We saw that in the debate, the Democratic primary debate, where, he's saying, I'm going to stay right here. He ended up lying, of course. He went to Uganda. But it doesn't matter. The point is, we got to stay focused on domestic issues. We're in the middle of this shutdown right now, Congressman. Yep. Is there any hope of getting out of this? What do you see on the horizon here? Because we got the whole debate about SNAP benefits. It looks like the president's going to be forced by a judge's ruling to pay out those SNAP benefits using other funds. We've also got air traffic controller situations. We've got another paycheck for our military November 15th. What are we seeing? What are you hearing?
Well, it sounds like there's some movement in the Senate to actually get the government open again, which of course is needed. So I think that could happen. There's maybe a promise of some vote on these Obamacare, subsidies, which, by the way, the Democrats made that the focus of their ridiculous shutdown. Because remember, never forget the facts. Chuck Schumer voted for this 6 months ago. The real debate is Chuck Schumer against Chuck Schumer. He voted for it 6 months ago, encouraged the senators to do so, Democrat senators to do so, and now he won't because they say, oh, we gotta extend this expansion of Obamacare and continue subsidizing the insurance companies. And I always point out, remember, everything they told us about Obamacare was a lie. They said, if you like your plan, you can keep your plan. You like your doctor, keep your doctor. Premiums will go down. President Obama even told us premiums will go down on average $1,500. Well, none of that worked out. And it was so bad that they had to keep subsidizing and expanding the subsidy. So now they want to continue that again. And it just makes no sense. But the simplest way for it is for Chuck Schumer to just do what he did 6 months ago and vote for this. They're talking about giving them a vote on the subsidy issue. If they open the government, we'll see how this all shakes out. And then finally, the other thing I would just add, because you mentioned this food stamp issue, 42 million Americans, greatest country in history, 42 million Americans. Well, many of them aren't Americans. They're here. They're some kind of people here on a visa or aren't citizens of our country. But 42 million people, that's larger than the entire population of Canada. That's 1/8 of our entire population. Really? That many people in this great country, the greatest nation ever, need help from the taxpayer just to get food? That's a problem in and of itself that I think we need to address. And part of it, I think, is the work requirement we put in the big, beautiful bill, which hopefully will start helping everybody.
Yeah, no, we talked a lot about food stamps on this show because there's a lot of fraud, and there's a lot of abuse, and a larger problem is that when people get addicted to these programs, you can't ever get them off, and that's not the way forward either. Really quick here, Congressman, I want to address this. You have referred John Brennan, former CIA director, to the DOJ for criminal prosecution. 2 minutes left in the segment, Congressman. Tell us what's going on here.
You're not supposed to lie, but you're definitely not supposed to lie when you're under oath talking to Congress. It looks like that's exactly what John Brennan did. He told us in a deposition in the last Congress, he told us that he did not want the dossier, the crazy Russian dossier we've all heard about. He didn't want it included in the intelligence community assessment, pushed against having it in there. But then Tulsi Gabbard declassifies a report from the House Intelligence Committee from several years ago where it says exactly the opposite. In there, it says he actually wanted it in the intelligence community assessment. And they relate a story where a CIA official comes up to Mr. Brennan and says, Director, this dossier doesn't hold up. there's no underlying intelligence to support the claims of this foreigner, Christopher Steele, who wrote this thing. It doesn't work. Brennan's response was, yeah, but doesn't it ring true? I think fully displaying his motivation about him wanting to get President Trump and go after him and putting it in this intelligence community assessment, which was the report that they changed between Election Day 2016 and Inauguration Day of January 2017. So that's why we referred him. You're not supposed to come in and lie to Congress when you're under oath. It looks like that's what he did. And when you couple it with everything else we know about what Brennan and Clapper and they all did, right when President Trump was going from winning the election to being sworn in as the next president, it's pretty darn bad. And that's why we sent it, and we'll see what the Attorney General and the Justice Department do.
Well, listen, Congressman, thank you for staying on that story. I think I speak for the audience when I say we want justice and we want accountability. When they talk about the big lie, this was the real big lie. This was the actual big lie, and they tried to distract us from it. They tried to take away President Trump's first term because of this. We do not forget. We do not forget. Yeah, President Trump fought through it. He fought through it admirably. I don't know if anybody else could have done what he did, but he did, and we're grateful to him. Congressman, God bless you. Thank you for coming on and honoring Charlie the way that you did, and stay on it. We'll have you back on again soon. Thank you.